The wheelchair buckled beneath Naomi Brooks with a sickening crack that echoed through the hospital parking lot. The front wheel, already held together by duct tape and prayer, finally surrendered. Metal scraped against concrete as she lurched forward, her bag spilling across the wet pavement. Pills bottles, her brother's medical documents, and her last $20 bill scattered like leaves in the wind. She sat there in the drizzling rain, her hands gripping the broken armrests, and felt something inside her break too. Not the quick snap of metal, but the slow, crushing weight of being completely and utterly alone. Inside that hospital, her 12-year-old brother Terence lay fighting an illness that was draining every penny she had. The wheelchair, her only means of getting to him, to work, to anywhere, was now a useless heap of twisted metal. Naomi looked at the hospital entrance, so close yet impossibly far. Her phone was dead. Her apartment was 3 miles away. The last bus had already left. She had no family except Terence, no savings account, no backup plan. Just a broken wheelchair and a breaking heart. People walked past her, their eyes sliding away from her struggle, their steps quickening. She understood. Everyone had their own problems. But understanding didn't make the loneliness hurt any less. Rain soaked through her thin jacket as she tried to figure out what to do next. The wheelchair repair shop wanted $300 she didn't have. The social services office had a 3-month waiting list for equipment assistance. She was 24 years old, and this was her life. Stuck in a hospital parking lot in the rain, with a sick brother upstairs and no way to reach him. That's when the expensive shoes appeared in her line of sight. "Miss, are you all right?" Naomi looked up at the man standing over her, holding an umbrella. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her rent. His face showed genuine concern, not pity. Something about that look made her want to cry, but she'd learned long ago that tears solved nothing. "My wheelchair broke," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I just need to get inside to see my brother." The man crouched down, mindless of the puddles soaking his expensive pants. He examined the wheelchair with knowing eyes. "This is completely broken. You need a new one." "I know," Naomi said, gathering her scattered belongings. "But I can't afford it right now. I'll figure something out. I always do." The man was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that would change everything. "Let me help you." Have you ever felt so alone that even kindness seemed impossible to accept? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to hear what happens next in this incredible true story. Naomi stared at the stranger, her mind racing through all the possible reasons why a man in a $3,000 suit would care about her problems. She'd learned to be careful about accepting help. There was always a catch, always strings attached. "I appreciate the offer," she started, ready to politely decline. "Before you say no," he interrupted gently, "let me explain. My name is Harrison Cole. I own a medical equipment company, among other businesses. I have connections that can get you a new wheelchair by tomorrow morning. No charge." Naomi's pride flared up. She'd survived on her own since her parents died in a car accident 6 years ago. She'd put herself through community college while taking care of Terence. She'd worked 3 jobs at one point. She didn't need charity. But then she thought of Terence upstairs, probably wondering where she was. She thought of the medical bills piling up. She thought of missing another day of work because she couldn't get there. Sometimes pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. "Why would you do that?" she asked. Harrison stood up, still holding the umbrella over both of them. "Because I can, and because you need it. It's that simple. Will you let me help you?" The rain fell harder. Naomi felt the cold seeping into her bones. She looked at the hospital entrance, then back at this stranger who was offering her a lifeline. Every instinct told her to refuse, to figure it out on her own like she always did. But she was so tired of figuring everything out alone. "Yes," she said quietly. "Thank you. I accept your help." Harrison smiled, and it transformed his whole face. "Good. Now, let's get you inside to see your brother. I'll carry you if that's okay." Before Naomi could protest, he'd scooped her up easily, leaving the broken wheelchair behind. A security guard rushed over with a hospital wheelchair, and Harrison gently set her down in it. Your chair is beyond repair, Harrison said, examining the broken metal frame one more time. I'll have it disposed of properly. Tomorrow morning, a new one will be delivered to your address. May I have your information? Naomi gave him her details, still half expecting this to be some kind of elaborate prank. Harrison typed everything into his phone, then looked at her seriously. What floor is your brother on? 4th floor, room 412, Naomi answered. He has a rare autoimmune disorder. The treatment is expensive, and insurance doesn't cover everything. Harrison's expression shifted, something painful flickering across his face. I see. What's the current bill looking like? Naomi hesitated. She'd already accepted help with the wheelchair. She couldn't ask for more. We're managing, she lied. Naomi, Harrison said, his voice kind but firm. I asked you a question. What's the medical bill? $47,000, she whispered. And growing every day. Harrison didn't flinch. I'll take care of it. No, Naomi said automatically. That's too much. The wheelchair is already more than enough. The wheelchair is nothing, Harrison said. Let me pay for your brother's treatment. Please. Naomi's eyes filled with tears. She'd been carrying this weight for so long, and here was someone offering to lift it. Every rational part of her brain screamed that this was too good to be true, that there had to be a catch. But looking into Harrison's eyes, she saw only sincerity. And she thought of Terence, who deserved every chance at life. Okay, she said, her voice cracking. Thank you. I don't know how to repay you. You don't need to repay me, Harrison said. Just get your brother healthy. That's all the payment I need. He pushed her wheelchair to the elevator, rode up with her to the 4th floor, and waited while she went into Terence's room. Through the window, she could see Harrison making phone calls, his expression serious and focused. Terence looked up when she entered, his thin face brightening. Naomi. I was worried. You're usually here earlier. My wheelchair broke, she said, rolling to his bedside and taking his hand. But a kind man helped me. And Terence, he's going to help with your medical bills too. Her brother's eyes widened. Really? But how can we accept that from a stranger? Sometimes, Naomi said, squeezing his hand, we have to let people help us. It doesn't make us weak. It makes us human. She didn't know it then, but those words would come back to her in ways she couldn't imagine. And the man waiting outside would become so much more than a kind stranger. The next morning arrived with a knock on Naomi's apartment door. She wheeled over in her temporary borrowed wheelchair from the hospital, expecting maybe a delivery person dropping off the promised wheelchair. Instead, Harrison Cole stood in her hallway with 2 men carrying a state-of-the-art motorized wheelchair, the kind she'd only seen in medical magazines. The price tag on something like that had to be at least $15,000. Good morning, Harrison said with a smile. May we come in? Naomi stepped back, suddenly aware of her small studio apartment with its peeling paint and second-hand furniture. But Harrison didn't seem to notice or care. He directed the delivery men where to set up the wheelchair, then supervised as they adjusted it to her specifications. This is too much, Naomi said, staring at the sleek machine. You said a wheelchair, not this. This is top of the line. You deserve top of the line, Harrison replied simply. Try it out. Naomi transferred to the new chair, and the difference was immediate. It moved smoothly, responded to the lightest touch, and had features she'd never dreamed of having. There was even a phone holder and a small storage compartment. It's perfect, she breathed. But I can't accept this. The cost is too much. Harrison crouched beside her chair. Naomi, I need you to understand something. I own Cole Medical Solutions. We manufacture medical equipment. This wheelchair costs me less than what you're imagining. And even if it didn't, I want you to have it. But why? Naomi asked. You don't even know me. Harrison was quiet for a moment. I had a sister. Her name was Rebecca. She had the same condition as your brother. She died when she was 13 because we couldn't afford the right treatment in time. Back then, we had nothing. I've spent 20 years building my business, and every dollar I make feels empty because I couldn't save her. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. I'm so sorry. When I saw you yesterday, broken wheelchair in the rain, fighting to get to your brother, I saw my younger self. Desperate, alone, and trying so hard to save someone I loved. I can't bring Rebecca back, but I can help Terrence. And I can help you. Please let me do this. The delivery men left quietly, and Harrison stood to go. I've already contacted the hospital. Your brother's bills are cleared, and I've arranged for the best specialist in the state to review his case. She'll be there this afternoon. Harrison, I don't know what to say. Say you'll let me know how Terrence is doing, Harrison said. Here's my personal number. Call me anytime, even just to talk. He handed her a card with his number written on it. I mean it, Naomi. Anytime. After he left, Naomi sat in her new wheelchair, staring at the business card in her hand. Harrison Cole, CEO, Cole Medical Solutions. She looked him up on her phone and found articles about his company, his philanthropy, his estimated net worth of over $200 million. But what struck her most was a photo from 5 years ago. Harrison stood at a charity event, smiling for the camera, but his eyes looked empty. The caption mentioned his sister Rebecca and the foundation he'd started in her name. Naomi understood then. Harrison wasn't helping her out of pity. He was helping her because he understood loss, because he knew what it felt like to watch someone you love suffer, because saving Terrence might help heal a wound that had never quite closed. She called him that afternoon, after the specialist had examined Terrence. Harrison. It's Naomi. The doctor says Terrence's prognosis is good with the new treatment plan. She thinks he can be out of the hospital in a few weeks. That's wonderful news, Harrison said, and she could hear genuine happiness in his voice. I wanted to thank you again. For everything. You've given us our lives back. You would have found a way, Harrison said. You're a fighter, Naomi. I just made the path a little easier. They talked for an hour that day. About Terrence, about Rebecca, about life and loss and hope. When Naomi finally hung up, she realized she'd been smiling the whole time. The next day, Harrison visited Terrence in the hospital. He brought card games and books, and spent the afternoon making her brother laugh. Watching them together, Naomi felt something shift in her chest. Harrison wasn't just a benefactor. He was becoming a friend. And maybe, someday, something more. 3 weeks passed in a blur of hospital visits and cautious hope. Terrence responded well to the new treatment, gaining strength each day. The specialist Harrison brought in adjusted his medications, and for the first time in months, Naomi saw real color return to her brother's cheeks. Harrison visited every few days, always bringing something for Terrence, but staying to talk with Naomi. They discovered they both loved old movies, both thought pineapple belonged on pizza, and both believed that kindness mattered more than success. The insurance company called today, Naomi told Harrison one afternoon while Terrence napped. They couldn't believe someone paid the entire bill. They thought it was a mistake. Harrison smiled. What did you tell them? That miracles happen, Naomi said. And that I met someone who believes in helping people without expecting anything in return. I do expect something, Harrison admitted. I expect Terrence to get better. I expect you to stop looking so tired and worried. And I expect us to stay friends. We're friends? Naomi asked, though warmth spread through her chest at the word. I hope so, Harrison said. You're the first person in years who talks to me like I'm just a regular person. Do you know how valuable that is? Before Naomi could respond, Harrison's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and sighed. I have a board meeting in an hour. But before I go, I wanted to ask you something. He pulled out a folder. I've arranged for physical therapy sessions for you, 3 times a week. The therapist specializes in your condition. I know you've made peace with your wheelchair, but these sessions might increase your strength and mobility. Naomi's first instinct was to refuse. She'd accepted so much already. But then she remembered what she'd told Terrence about letting people help. I'd like that. Thank you. Perfect. Your first session is Monday at 10. Harrison paused at the door. And Naomi? This isn't charity. Friends help each other. Remember that. Monday came, and Naomi arrived at the therapy center to find it was one of the best facilities in the city. The therapist, a woman named Angela Rodriguez, greeted her warmly. "Harrison spoke very highly of you," Angela said. "He wants the best for you, that much is clear." "He's been very kind," Naomi said carefully. Angela smiled knowingly. "Harrison has been donating to this center for years, but he's never personally arranged treatment for anyone before. You must be special." The session was challenging but encouraging. Angela explained that while Naomi would always need her wheelchair, strengthening exercises could improve her upper body strength and reduce daily pain. After therapy, Naomi stopped by the community center where she'd applied for a job weeks ago. To her surprise, the director called her into his office. "We'd like to offer you the position," he said. "Counselor for our youth programs. Part-time to start, with possibility of full-time hours." Naomi accepted immediately. It wasn't much money, but it was a start. She could finally contribute to rebuilding their lives. She called Harrison with the news. "I got a job." "That's wonderful," Harrison said. "Where?" "The Riverside Community Center. I start next week." "I know that place," Harrison said. "I've donated to their programs." "You'll do great work there, Naomi." They talked for a while longer, and Naomi realized their conversations had become the highlight of her days. Harrison made her laugh, challenged her thinking, and listened when she needed to vent. "Can I take you to dinner?" Harrison asked suddenly. "To celebrate your new job?" Naomi hesitated. Dinner felt different from hospital visits. It felt like something more. "Just as friends," Harrison added quickly. "No pressure. I just thought it would be nice." "Okay," Naomi said. "Yes, I'd like that." That Saturday, Harrison picked her up in a regular sedan, not the town car she'd expected. He helped her transfer to the passenger seat, folded her wheelchair into the trunk, and drove to a small Italian restaurant. "This is my favorite place," he said. "No fancy atmosphere, no photographers, just good food." The restaurant was cozy and welcoming. The owner greeted Harrison by name, kissed both his cheeks, and showed them to a quiet corner table. "You come here often?" Naomi asked. "Every Sunday for the past 10 years, Harrison said. "Maria, the owner, knew my sister. After Rebecca died, I couldn't eat for weeks. Maria showed up at my apartment with soup every day until I agreed to come to her restaurant. This place saved me in a way." Naomi reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "I'm glad you had someone." Harrison looked at their joined hands, then back at her face. "I'm glad I have someone now too." Summer arrived with warm breezes and longer days. Terence was discharged from the hospital with strict follow-up care instructions, but the doctors were optimistic. Naomi's job at the community center grew from part-time to nearly full-time hours as she proved herself invaluable to the youth programs. And Harrison became a constant presence in her life. He showed up at the community center one afternoon, surprising Naomi during her break. "I hope it's okay that I stopped by," he said. "I had a meeting nearby and thought I'd see how your first full week went." Naomi rolled over to him, unable to stop her smile. "It went great. The kids here are amazing. I'm working with a girl named Brittany who uses a wheelchair too. She reminds me of myself at that age." "Tell me about her," Harrison said, and they sat in the courtyard while Naomi shared stories about her students. "You light up when you talk about them," Harrison observed. "This is what you were meant to do." "I think you're right," Naomi said. "For the first time in years, I feel like I'm not just surviving. I'm actually living." Harrison's expression grew serious. "Can I tell you something? You've inspired me. Watching you rebuild your life, seeing how you connect with these kids, it made me realize how disconnected I've become from what matters." "What do you mean?" "I spend my days in boardrooms talking about profit margins and market shares. I've built a successful company, but somewhere along the way, I forgot why I started it. To help people, like Rebecca needed help. You reminded me of that purpose." Naomi studied his face. Despite his wealth, Harrison carried a loneliness that wealth couldn't fix. "Do you have anyone close to you? Friends, family?" Harrison shook his head. "My parents died in a boating accident 3 years ago. We were already distant by then. They never forgave me for putting business before family, Never understood that I was trying to build something meaningful. I have business associates, people who work for me, but no one I really trust. No one except you. What about dating? Naomi asked, trying to keep her voice casual. Surely someone like you has women interested. Harrison laughed, but it sounded bitter. Women are interested in Harrison Cole, the billionaire. They're interested in the lifestyle, the status, the money. No one wants to know Harrison, the man who still has nightmares about his sister, who eats too much takeout, and who prefers old movies to fancy parties. I want to know that Harrison, Naomi said quietly. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Harrison reached out and took her hand. You already do know him. You're the only one who does. The moment was interrupted by Brittany rolling up to them. Miss Naomi, are we still doing art class today? Absolutely, Naomi said, pulling her hand back with some reluctance. Give me 5 minutes. Is this your boyfriend? Brittany asked bluntly, eyeing Harrison with the shameless curiosity of a 13-year-old. This is my friend Harrison, Naomi said, feeling her cheeks warm. He looks at you like my dad looks at my mom, Brittany said wisely, then rolled away before Naomi could respond. Harrison laughed, and this time it sounded genuine. Smart kid. Too smart, Naomi muttered. I should get back to work. Can I see you this weekend? Harrison asked. There's a place I'd like to show you. What kind of place? It's a surprise, Harrison said. Trust me. Naomi did trust him, she realized. This man who'd walked into her life during her darkest moment had proven himself over and over. Okay. I trust you. Have you ever had someone see the real you beneath the surface? Someone who understood your struggles without judgment? Drop a comment about what true connection means to you, and hit subscribe to see where this story goes. Saturday morning, Harrison picked up Naomi and drove north out of the city. They talked about everything and nothing, the conversation flowing as easily as always. After about an hour, he pulled into a long driveway leading to a beautiful property overlooking a lake. This is incredible, Naomi breathed, taking in the sprawling land and the modest but elegant house. This was Rebecca's dream, Harrison said softly. She used to draw pictures of a house by the water where she could watch birds and paint. After she died, I bought this land. I keep telling myself I'll build here someday, but I never do. They sat on a bench near the water's edge. Harrison had brought a picnic basket, and they ate sandwiches while watching the sunlight dance on the lake. Why did you bring me here? Naomi asked. Because you're the only person I wanted to share it with, Harrison said. Everyone else would see the property value, the investment potential. You see what Rebecca saw. Beauty, peace, possibility. It is beautiful, Naomi agreed. You should build here. I think Rebecca would want that. Harrison was quiet for a long time. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a pill bottle, swallowing a tablet with his water. Blood pressure medication, he said, noticing Naomi's glance. And before you ask, yes, I take several others too. Stress medication, sleeping pills, something for anxiety. The price of success, they say. Harrison, Naomi said gently, that's not the price of success. That's the price of carrying too much alone. Maybe, he admitted. My doctor keeps telling me to slow down, to delegate more, to take time for myself. But every time I try to relax, I think about all the people depending on my company, all the patients who need our equipment, all the responsibility. And who takes care of you? Naomi asked. Harrison looked at her with such vulnerability that her heart ached. Right now? You do. These past few months, talking to you, spending time with you and Terence, it's the most peace I've felt in years. Then keep spending time with us, Naomi said. Come over for dinner. Watch movies with Terence. Stop carrying everything alone. I don't want to impose on your life. You're not imposing. You're participating. There's a difference. Naomi took his hand. Harrison, you gave us so much. Let us give something back. Not money, but friendship. Family. The things that actually matter. Harrison's eyes glistened. I haven't had family in a long time. Well, you do now, Naomi said firmly. If you want it. I want it, Harrison said, his voice rough with emotion. More than you know. They stayed by the lake until sunset, talking about dreams and fears and the future. Harrison confided about the pressure from his board to take the company public, the exhaustion that never seemed to lift, the emptiness of his large house. I have everything money can buy, he said, but I'd trade it all for what you have. Purpose, connection, love. You have that now, Naomi reminded him. If you let yourself accept it. On the drive back, Harrison seemed lighter somehow. Thank you for today. For listening, for understanding. That's what friends do, Naomi said. But even as she said it, she knew their connection had grown beyond simple friendship. She was falling for this complicated, generous, lonely man. And from the way he looked at her, she suspected he felt the same. The question was whether they'd be brave enough to acknowledge it. 2 months after leaving the hospital, Terence was thriving. His color was back, his energy restored, and his doctors called his recovery remarkable. To celebrate, Harrison insisted on throwing a party at his penthouse. Nothing fancy, he promised Naomi. Just the 3 of us, pizza, and video games. Naomi agreed, curious to see where Harrison lived. When they arrived at the building, the doorman greeted Harrison by name and helped with Naomi's wheelchair. The elevator rose to the top floor, opening directly into Harrison's home. The space was stunning but sterile. Expensive furniture that looked unused, art that seemed chosen by a decorator rather than personal taste, everything in shades of grey and white. It felt more like a hotel than a home. This is where you live? Terence asked, eyes wide. This is where I sleep, Harrison corrected. Living happens other places. He'd set up the gaming system in the living room and ordered enough pizza to feed 10 people. Watching Harrison and Terence play video games, laughing and trash-talking each other, Naomi saw a different side of him. Playful, relaxed, genuinely happy. You're really good at this, Terence said after Harrison won another round. I play a lot when I can't sleep, Harrison admitted. Which is most nights. You should come over to our place more, Terence said. It's not as fancy as this, but it feels more like home. Harrison glanced at Naomi, and she nodded. He's right. You're always welcome. After several rounds of gaming, Harrison ordered them to the balcony to watch the city lights. Terence was tired and dozed off on the outdoor sofa. He really likes you, Naomi said quietly. I really like him, Harrison replied. He reminds me of what Rebecca could have been. Brave, funny, full of life. They stood at the railing, the city spread below them like stars. Harrison moved closer, his arm brushing hers. Naomi, I need to tell you something. Her heart started beating faster. Okay. These past few months with you and Terence have been the happiest of my adult life. I wake up excited to see what the day brings. I think about you constantly. I find excuses to text you, to call you, to be near you. He turned to face her. I'm falling in love with you. Maybe I already have. Naomi's breath caught. She'd known her feelings were growing, but hearing him say the words made everything real. I know our worlds are different, Harrison continued. I know I'm older than you, that I come with complications and baggage. I know I'm probably not what you imagined for yourself. But I can't pretend anymore that what I feel is just friendship. Harrison, Naomi said, her voice shaking slightly. I'm falling in love with you too. I have been for a while. I just didn't think someone like you could want someone like me. Someone like you? Harrison repeated. Naomi, you're the strongest, kindest, most genuine person I've ever met. You face every challenge with grace. You love your brother with everything you have. You make me want to be better. Why wouldn't I want you? Because I come with complications too, Naomi said. My wheelchair, my responsibilities, my completely different lifestyle. None of that matters to me, Harrison said. What matters is how I feel when I'm with you. Like I can breathe for the first time in years. Like life has color again. He reached out and cupped her face gently. Can we try this? See where it goes. Naomi's practical side wanted to list all the reasons why this might not work. But her heart, the part of her that had been lonely for so long, wanted this chance at happiness. Yes, she whispered. Let's try. Harrison smiled, and it was like the sun breaking through clouds. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. But Naomi didn't want to pull away. She wanted this, wanted him. Their first kiss was gentle and sweet, full of promise and possibility. When they finally pulled apart, both were smiling. I should probably take you and Terence home, Harrison said. But I don't want this evening to end. It doesn't have to end, Naomi said. This is just the beginning. The next few weeks passed in a blur of discovery and delight. Harrison and Naomi took things slowly, mindful of the newness of their relationship. He came to her apartment for dinner, where she discovered he was a terrible cook but an excellent dishwasher. They watched old movies on her worn couch, Harrison's arm around her shoulders, both pretending to focus on the screen while acutely aware of each other. My board is pushing for a big charity gala, Harrison mentioned one evening while helping Terence with homework. They want me to use it for networking, but I'm considering making it about Rebecca's foundation instead. That's a wonderful idea, Naomi said. Would you come with me? As my date? Harrison asked, then quickly added, only if you're comfortable with that. I know public events might not be your thing. Naomi felt nervous about being thrust into Harrison's public life, but she also wanted to support him. I'd love to come. Really? Harrison looked surprised and pleased. I should warn you, there will be photographers and people asking questions. Let them ask, Naomi said with more confidence than she felt. I'm not hiding how I feel about you. The night of the gala arrived. Harrison sent a car for Naomi, and when she arrived at his penthouse, he had hired someone to help with her hair and makeup. She'd bought a deep blue dress that complemented her skin tone, and when Harrison saw her, his expression made every nervous moment worth it. You look absolutely beautiful, he breathed. You clean up pretty nice yourself, Naomi replied, admiring his tailored tuxedo. At the gala, held in a grand ballroom, Naomi felt overwhelmed at first. But Harrison stayed close, his hand finding hers whenever she seemed uncomfortable. He introduced her to people as Naomi, someone very important to me, and the pride in his voice was clear. That's Harrison Cole's date, she heard someone whisper. Wonder who she is. Probably another gold digger, someone else replied. Naomi stiffened, but Harrison squeezed her hand. Ignore them. They don't know you, don't know us, and their opinions don't matter. The highlight of the evening came when Harrison took the stage to announce a major expansion of Rebecca's foundation, including scholarships for families dealing with chronic childhood illnesses. This foundation exists because my sister deserved better than what our family could afford, Harrison said, his voice carrying across the silent room. And because every child deserves access to quality healthcare, regardless of their family's financial situation. This year, we're doubling our commitment. The applause was thunderous. After his speech, Harrison made his way back to Naomi. I'm so proud of you, she said. Dance with me, he asked. Harrison, I'm in a wheelchair. So? He crouched down and took both her hands. We'll figure it out together. They moved to a quiet corner of the dance floor. Harrison stood facing her, holding her hands, swaying gently to the music. It wasn't a traditional dance, but it was theirs. This is perfect, Naomi whispered. You're perfect, Harrison replied, leaning down to kiss her forehead. Meeting you changed my life, Naomi. You showed me what really matters. You changed mine too, Naomi said. You gave me back my hope. They stayed like that, swaying together while the world watched. Naomi no longer cared about the whispers or the stares. All that mattered was this moment, this man, this feeling of finally belonging somewhere. Later, as Harrison drove her home, they talked about the future in careful, hopeful terms. I know it's early, Harrison said, but I can see a life with you. A real life, not just dates and events. Building something together. I see it too, Naomi admitted. It scares me a little. Me too, Harrison said. But the good kind of scared. The kind that means it's real and worth protecting. At her door, he kissed her goodnight, gentle and lingering. Thank you for being brave enough to take a chance on us. Thank you for being patient enough to let me, Naomi replied. Fall arrived, painting the city in shades of gold and crimson. Harrison and Naomi's relationship deepened into something solid and sure. They spent nearly every evening together, either at her apartment where Terence provided enthusiastic commentary on their relationship, or at Harrison's penthouse where they slowly made the space feel more like a home. "I want to show you something," Harrison said one Saturday morning. He'd driven them out to the property by the lake, and Naomi was surprised to see construction equipment scattered across the land. "You're building?" she asked. "I'm finally building Rebecca's house," Harrison confirmed. "I realized I was holding on to grief instead of honoring her memory. She wouldn't want this land to sit empty. She'd want it to be filled with life and joy. What will you do with it when it's finished?" Harrison looked at her seriously. "I'm hoping it becomes our family home. Mine, yours, and Terence's. If you'll consider it." Naomi's heart soared and stuttered at the same time. "Harrison, that's a big step." "I know. And I'm not asking you to decide now. I'm just telling you what I'm hoping for. What I'm building toward." He took her hand. "I love you, Naomi. Completely, truly, forever kind of love. I want to build a life with you." "I love you too," Naomi said, tears filling her eyes. "I was afraid to say it, afraid it was too soon or too much." "It's not too soon," Harrison said. "Not when it's this right." They kissed by the lake, the future spreading out before them like the water, endless and full of possibility. That evening, Harrison came over for dinner at Naomi's apartment. She'd made spaghetti, Terence's favorite, and the three of them ate together like the family they were becoming. "So," Terence said with the bluntness of youth, "are you going to marry my sister or what?" "Terence?" Naomi gasped. But Harrison laughed. "When the time is right, if she'll have me, yes. That's the plan." "Good," Terence said, satisfied. "Because you're the best thing that ever happened to us. Both of us." After dinner, while Terence did homework in his room, Harrison and Naomi curled up on the couch together. He seemed tired, his usual energy dimmed. "Long week?" Naomi asked. "The company is expanding into Europe," Harrison said. "It's good news, but it means a lot of travel coming up. I'll have to go to London next month for 2 weeks." 2 weeks? Naomi tried to keep the disappointment from her voice. "I know. I'll miss you terribly." Harrison pulled her closer. "Come with me. You and Terence both. Make it a family trip." "I can't take that much time off work," Naomi said regretfully. "What if you didn't have to?" Harrison said carefully. "What if you could do your counseling work remotely, or take a sabbatical? I'll cover everything, make sure you don't lose anything." Naomi tensed slightly. "Harrison, I need to work. I need my independence." "I know," he said quickly. "I'm not trying to take that away. I just want to be with you, and I'm trying to find solutions that work for both of us." They talked through it, finding a compromise. Naomi would keep her job, but maybe work fewer hours. Harrison would cut back on unnecessary travel. They'd make time for each other without either sacrificing who they were. "This is what partnership looks like," Harrison said. "Figuring it out together." "I like that," Naomi said. "Figuring it out together." Harrison pulled her close, and they sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights twinkle outside her window. Naomi felt content in a way she never had before. Despite their different backgrounds, despite the obstacles they'd overcome, they'd found each other. And that was all that mattered. The evening started perfectly. Harrison had come over for dinner, insisting on cooking despite his lack of culinary skills. He'd made chicken parmesan, following an online recipe with intense concentration while Naomi and Terence offered commentary and advice. "This actually looks edible," Terence said, examining the finished dish. "High praise," Harrison laughed. "Let's hope it tastes as good as it looks." They sat down together at Naomi's small dining table, the three of them fitting together like pieces of a puzzle. Harrison was telling a funny story about a mishap at work when suddenly he stopped mid-sentence. "Harrison?" Naomi asked. "You okay?" He touched his throat, his expression shifting from confusion to alarm. "I feel strange." Within seconds, his breathing became labored. His face started turning red, then pale. He tried to stand and collapsed back into his chair. "Harrison." Naomi's medical training from her community center job kicked in immediately. She wheeled around the table, her mind racing through possibilities. Terrence, call 911 right now. Harrison's eyes were wide with fear as he struggled to breathe. Naomi saw hives breaking out across his neck and face. Anaphylaxis. Severe allergic reaction. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911 herself, putting it on speaker while she assessed Harrison. I need an ambulance immediately. Man in his 30s, severe allergic reaction, difficulty breathing. She gave the address while watching Harrison carefully. His lips were turning blue. She didn't have time to wait for paramedics. Harrison, I need you to listen to me, she said, her voice firm despite the fear clawing at her chest. Do you have an EpiPen? He shook his head weakly, still struggling for air. Naomi's mind raced. She'd learned CPR years ago for her job, kept her certification current. She'd practiced on dummies, never thinking she'd need it for someone she loved. Terrence, get me that bottle of Benadryl from the bathroom, she ordered. Fast. Her brother ran, and Naomi positioned herself next to Harrison. His eyes were starting to close. No, no, no. She couldn't lose him. Not now. Not when they'd just found each other. Terrence handed her the medication, and Naomi crushed 2 tablets, mixing them with a small amount of water. Harrison, I need you to swallow this. Can you do that for me? He managed to swallow, but his breathing was getting worse. His body went limp, and Naomi felt for a pulse. It was there but weak and irregular. She lowered him carefully to the floor, supporting his head. Stay with me, Harrison. Don't you dare leave me. Her hands positioned on his chest, she started compressions, counting out loud. She'd done this 100 times in training, but never when it actually mattered. Never on someone she loved. 1, 2, 3, 4. She kept counting, kept pushing, kept praying. Terrence stood nearby, tears streaming down his face, but Naomi couldn't comfort him. All her focus had to be on Harrison. Between compressions, she tilted his head back and gave rescue breaths. His chest rose and fell. She went back to compressions, her arms already burning from the effort. Come on, Harrison, she pleaded. Come back to me. We have a house to build, remember? We have a future. The minutes felt like hours. Where were the paramedics? She kept going, kept fighting for him the way he'd fought for her and Terrence. Finally, Harrison gasped. His eyes fluttered open, confused and scared. Relief flooded through Naomi so intensely she almost stopped compressions, but she kept going until she heard sirens outside. They're coming, she told him. You're going to be okay. Just hold on. Paramedics burst through the door. Naomi quickly explained what happened while they worked on Harrison. They gave him epinephrine, oxygen, started and 4. Within minutes, they had him stabilized and on a stretcher. You saved his life, one of the paramedics told Naomi. That CPR bought him the time he needed. At the hospital, Naomi and Terrence waited while doctors treated Harrison. Her hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was wearing off. She'd come so close to losing him. 2 hours later, a doctor emerged. He's stable now. It was a severe allergic reaction, likely to something in the food. Do you know what he ate? Naomi thought back to the meal. Harrison had used a new breadcrumb mix for the chicken. It might have been the breadcrumbs. They could have had nuts or something he's allergic to. That would make sense, the doctor said. He's very lucky. Without immediate intervention, this could have been fatal. You did everything right. They let her see him. Harrison looked small in the hospital bed, tubes and wires connected to him. But his eyes opened when she entered, and he managed a weak smile. Hey, he whispered. Hey yourself, Naomi said, rolling to his bedside and taking his hand. You scared me half to death. I scared myself, Harrison admitted. 1 minute I was eating dinner, the next I couldn't breathe. If you hadn't been there. But I was there, Naomi said firmly. And you're going to be fine. What would you do if someone you loved was in danger? Would you have the courage to act? Share your thoughts below and subscribe to see how this incredible story ends. Harrison stayed in the hospital overnight for observation. Naomi refused to leave his side, despite his protests that she should go home and rest. Terence stayed too, curled up in a chair, finally falling asleep around midnight. "You saved my life," Harrison said quietly, his voice still rough from the breathing tube they'd removed hours earlier. "You gave me mine first," Naomi replied. "I just returned the favor." "It's more than that," Harrison insisted. "Naomi, when I couldn't breathe, when everything went dark, my last thought was that I hadn't told you enough how much you mean to me. That I'd wasted time being careful when I should have been certain. Harrison, you need to rest." "No, I need to say this." He squeezed her hand. "You gave me my life back twice. Once when you walked into it and reminded me what joy felt like. And again tonight when you literally kept my heart beating. I don't want to waste another minute." Tears filled Naomi's eyes. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want forever with you," Harrison said. "I want to build that house by the lake and fill it with love and laughter. I want to watch Terence grow up and be part of his life. I want to come home to you every night and wake up to you every morning. I want everything, Naomi. Will you marry me?" Naomi's breath caught. This wasn't how she'd imagined a proposal. Harrison was in a hospital bed, still recovering from nearly dying. But somehow, it was perfect because it was real. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." Harrison pulled her close, kissing her despite the awkward angle and the medical equipment in the way. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying happy tears. "I don't have a ring yet," Harrison said. "I don't care about a ring," Naomi replied. "I care about you." "I know," Harrison said. "But you're getting one anyway. A beautiful one that shows the whole world you're mine and I'm yours." The next morning, Harrison was discharged with instructions to take it easy and a prescription for an EpiPen he should carry at all times. The doctor also recommended he see an allergist for complete testing. "I've been so cavalier about my health," Harrison admitted in the car ride home. "Taking medications for stress instead of addressing the stress. Not knowing my allergies. Not taking care of myself. That changes now," Naomi said. "We take care of each other." Over the next few weeks, Harrison made good on that promise. He cut back his work hours, hired a CEO to handle day-to-day operations while he focused on the foundation and strategic planning. He saw the allergist and discovered he was allergic to several tree nuts, something he'd never known because he'd avoided them by chance. "I'm restructuring my whole life," he told Naomi one evening. "And it feels incredible. I finally understand that success isn't about how much money you make or how many companies you run. It's about the people you love and the life you build together." True to his word, Harrison proposed properly a month later. He took Naomi back to the lake property, where the house was taking shape. Standing in front of the rising structure, he got down on one knee. "Naomi Brooks, you are the bravest, strongest, most beautiful person I've ever known. You saved my life in every way a person can be saved. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" The ring was stunning but not ostentatious, perfectly suited to her. "Yes," Naomi said, tears streaming down her face. 1,000 times yes. They married 6 months later in a small ceremony by the lake. Terence walked Naomi down the makeshift aisle, both of them in their wheelchairs, both beaming with joy. Harrison cried when he saw her in her simple white dress, and Naomi cried when she saw the love in his eyes. "I promise to love you through every challenge," Harrison vowed. "To support your independence while building our interdependence. To remember that wealth is measured in moments, not money. To be the partner you deserve. I promise to love you through every triumph and trial," Naomi vowed. "To remind you what matters when you forget. To build a life with you based on kindness, respect, and genuine connection. To be your safe place in every storm." The house by the lake became their home. They filled it with laughter and love, with Terence's artwork covering the walls and Harrison's terrible cooking filling the kitchen with smoke alarms. Naomi expanded her counseling work, eventually opening her own non-profit for disabled youth with Harrison's support but her own vision. Harrison thrived away from the constant stress of corporate life. His health improved dramatically. He still ran his company but with balance, remembering that life happened outside boardrooms. Do you ever regret it? Naomi asked him one evening, sitting on their back porch watching the sunset over the lake. Giving up that intensity, that constant drive. Not for a second, Harrison said, pulling her close. I have everything I ever wanted right here. You, Terence, this home we're building together. That night in your apartment when I almost died, I realized something. I'd been so focused on building an empire that I forgot to build a life. You showed me the difference. You showed me I could have more than survival, Naomi replied. That I deserved joy and partnership and love. Years later, people would ask them how they made it work, coming from such different worlds. Harrison always said the same thing: we didn't try to meet in the middle. We built something new together. Something that honored where we each came from while creating a future we both wanted. And Naomi would add, we accepted help when we needed it, gave help when we could, and remembered that the best love is the kind that makes both people stronger. Their foundation, now called the Rebecca Brooks Foundation, helped hundreds of families every year. The community center where Naomi worked honored her with an award for excellence in youth counseling. Terence went to college on a full scholarship and became a doctor, inspired by everyone who'd helped him survive. But the greatest success wasn't measured in accolades or achievements. It was measured in quiet mornings drinking coffee by the lake, in Terence's laughter filling their home, in Harrison's hand finding Naomi's in the middle of the night, in the simple knowledge that they'd found something rare and precious. They'd found each other when they both needed saving. And in saving each other, they'd discovered that real wealth had nothing to do with money and everything to do with love. The end.